Suit up, strap in, warm the tires, and leave on yellow. Time for the MitsuTimes podcast, presented by MitsuTimes.org, the home of the fastest Mitsubishi cars. With your host, Josh.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Josh from MitsuTimes. Today, my guest is Darrin. He is the owner, the janitor, the primary provider at DI Fabrication, the new sponsor of our rear-wheel drive class. How you doing today, Darrin?
Good to be here.
Absolutely, man. I just want to say thank you for obviously sponsoring the rear-wheel drive class, but saving it, because I thought for sure it was going to go away, and a lot of people maybe have a little bit of an idea, but I don't know how much they actually know. 2024 is going to be a huge year for rear-wheel drive.
Yeah, just from some of the small stuff I've seen, I'm really excited to be a sponsor, and especially to save the class and everything like that. It was when the opportunity arose, I was really stoked to be on board.
So, Darrin, let's get right into it. Let's talk about how, when, and why DI Fabrication got started.
Several years ago, I was done working for other people, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And somebody gave me just a small little push in the right direction, and I took something that I had made several years ago, and I turned it into, a real and useful product. And I said, you know what, we're going to go with this. It was one of those things where I don't really fit into that corporate hierarchy, and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I said, you know what, why not? Let's do it.
One of my good friends, Isaac, he always tells me that, if you're working a regular job, you're making someone else rich. You're not making yourself rich. Yeah.
And, just one thing to note is, I don't do this for the money. I really, really don't. But at the same time, that's 100% right. You go to work, you bust your ass, you do all these things for other people, and what do you get at the end of the day? Paycheck's great, but to get nothing else other than, it's like, it's kind of self-defeating in my opinion.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Darrin, let's talk about the products and services that DI Fabrications offers, because you kind of take what's missing from our little community and make parts for it.
Yeah, and that's my main goal. So yeah, I do make some generic regular parts, a lot of other companies make. I won't say that I don't, but I do really try to find what is missing, what is annoying to not have, what can be done simpler or more effective for our platforms, and I try to run with those things. As an example, I hear a lot of guys, I've sold hundreds of these battery relocation kits, and I would have to say over half of them are going from small batteries.
Wow.
So it's one of those things where I want to fill those gaps in, because, that's the same stuff I'm doing with my stuff. So when I make something for my car, that's a thing that becomes a potential product for other people.
So this is actual proven products on your website, not just stuff that you've made.
100%. Yeah, everything I sell, I have either ran on my car, mm-hmm. I have ran on customers' cars, obviously with their permission and things like that.
Right.
I've ran customers' cars, things I've even had to make for customers' cars out of other companies' parts.
Wow.
Because they give you a very generic product, and then you have to go and you have to modify it, really, really intensively. So I said, well, why not just make it that way?
Yeah.
I can't be the only one sitting here going, man, I wish that this power wire was different for the battery in an Evo 10. Everything I make, everything is proven. Everything gets tested, R&D'd. Nothing's really a knee-jerk product. And 90%, I would say I run every part I make that is feasible to run on my car. I can't run 2 battery relocation kits. So, but anything that's feasible for my build, I run on my own car.
Man, that's awesome. That's the kind of products that we need in the community. Not I feel like a lot of things as like we see an opening in our little community, somebody makes a part for it, and then it never really seems to act right or work right or fit right, like you said.
Yeah, and I really do my best. I've seen quite a few different variations of things. Customers have sent me or asked me questions on and things like that. So even if it's not on my website, I'm so intimately knowledgeable about it that I can really tailor pretty much anything to work with pretty much any setup. And I would say like that's, I take great pride in that. Guys who really want to mount their batteries on the passenger side, the wire I supply comes up a little short. It's not out there, but I have an option, to solve that problem.
Yeah. Good deal. So I want to talk about the different Mitsubishis that you make parts for. I know you primarily do Evos, but there's some other stuff as well, right?
As of right now, I'm only doing Evo 8 and 9. I have a couple parts for Evo 10. But right now it's 8 and 9, and it's solely based off of just not having some of these cars available to me in a stock enough form that I can actually, design parts to work for, the good majority of people.
Right. Okay. So, Darrin, I want to talk about your battery relocation catch cans, because this is something that not only can it help relocate your battery, obviously, but it also gives you the catch can in a spot where, there's already open space because now your battery is somewhere else.
Yeah, it's actually one of my crown jewels. It's probably one of the products I'm the most proud of. It's really basic in its form, basic in its design, but very highly functional and, very well placed, thought out. It's probably one of the highest. I probably went through more variations of this catch can to get it exactly right than I think I have pretty much with any other product I've made.
Oh, wow.
I ran into the very very first one was way too short. One of them was too short height wise. I made one that was a little too narrow, things like that. And, when I came to the design that I have now, it really lets me make them customizable. So if you need different AN fittings, or you want -10s or a variation of -10-6, things like that, it's all super customizable on my end to provide that to you with very minimal cost increase. So I wanted it to be very functional in that sense, that I could make it any way you want it, but you don't have to pay this crazy premium to get it the way you need it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's my favorite product, and I love making them too.
Oh yeah.
So.
Well, Darrin, let's talk about the wiring kits that you make, because it's something that I think is special for the community, because the ones that are available in the marketplace are usually ones from China, and we see that the wires that they use aren't very good, or the relays that they use aren't very good.
The wiring kits that I offer, they're tailored to Evo 10 specifically. I've done a couple of these hardwire kits, and I've to be really blunt and honest, I bought Dietzwerks relay kits, but I had to go through so much modification that by the time I was done, it was just too much of an upcharge to the customer for all the labor in doing it. And you get to soldering some of these bigger wires are a pain in the butt and things like that. So, I really want to design it and tailor it more for the Evo 10 community, so they didn't have to go through all of that headache or trouble to make, for such a simple modification.
Yeah.
I do use regular waterproof 40 amp relays. The big difference that you'll notice between my wiring kits is that the power wire is short to compensate for the battery being in the back.
Okay.
the other 2 wires for the relay that hook up are significantly longer to actually reach the fuel tank from the battery area on an Evo 10. So you're getting that I don't want to say customized, but all the pins and everything, all the wire lengths, all that's all done here in house. Nobody makes them for me. Nobody does anything like that. And I spent time on an Evo 10 really getting those wiring lengths and everything down. You could easily take it to another rear battery mounted car and do the exact same thing. Okay. So you've relocated your battery on your Evo 8.9, your 2G, whatever, and you want to hardwire your fuel pump. One of these can do the same thing, and it's already pretty configured for that setup.
Yeah. No, you need to rewire your fuel pump. That's you want, if you're going to be going fast, you need to hardwire your fuel pump.
110%.
No ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah, no, definitely not on that one, especially on Evo 10s. Those connectors, they really don't like all that extra amperage and voltage traveling through them. They melt and all that. So it's not even worth the future headache of it.
Well, Darrin, why don't you tell us about the titanium parts that you offer, because that seems to be all the rage these days.
Yeah, pretty basic on titanium parts. I just got into titanium, so I'm still trying to learn some of the abilities, capabilities, and things like that on it. So right now, the big things that I offer are upper intercooler pipes that are compatible with my catch can. That was something I wanted to address because there are some rarer pipes out there that are not compatible with my catch can because of the blow-off valve location.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to give people an option, and I do actually have a set of budget titanium intercooler pipes coming soon that will be at a little bit of a better price point for customers as well. Mm-hmm. So right now we're offering speed density intakes, upper intercooler pipes, and I just did I believe it's on the website. I have to actually double check. A standard radiator pipe.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Yeah. So and obviously I have a cam angle sensor shield as well, and every once in a while I do a run of battery location brackets that are in titanium as well.
Okay. Seems to be the move these days. Have lots of titanium in the engine bay.
Yeah, the way I'll tell you, from my standpoint, titanium's really, really fun to weld. It's definitely my favorite material to weld. And it's a very interesting material because it's so thin yet so strong. Mm-hmm. And because it's so thin and its properties, it's really, really light. So I mean, you can't really fault some of these some of these guys out there that are just crazy about it. Because I think titanium has a really, really good place in the automotive, especially in the racing side of the automotive world. So it's a really great material.
Yeah. Got to save weight where you can.
Absolutely. And, sometimes you add weight, sometimes you save weight. I won't sit here and say that my upper intercooler pipe is any lighter than the standard rubber or anything like that. But I will say it's very, very pretty.
Yeah. Titanium is very, very pretty, especially those, when you have the short little pie cuts like that.
Yeah, I started with pie cut. I'm going to be moving into doing just regular elbow stuff as well. The pie cut was more of a challenge for me to learn how to work with the material because it just gives me more to weld and things like that. Yeah. So it was more so from that standpoint more in the R&D standpoint too. It's easier to work with pie cuts and some of that stuff than it is to work with full elbows or anything like that. Yeah. Pie cuts are actually a little cheaper. So it's just something to consider as well.
Okay. So Darrin, let's talk about the future of DI fabrication. Are there, what do you foresee in the future? I know you said, you're kind of really just getting rolling with this whole thing.
So probably in the next couple of years, we're going to see an entire Evo 10 line. When I say that, I mean it is for as much development as I've done on the 8 and 9. We'll probably see similar, if not just a smidge more, for Evo 10. My goal is to expand. My 2024 goal is to, just because I've had some disparity in trying to get my hands on some of the platforms.
Yeah.
I've just decided to go out and just buy them, which I know sounds crazy, but it's one of those things where I'm going to keep expanding. I really enjoy doing this. A lot of the people I've met have been just amazing. My customers are awesome, and it gives me, at no point has anybody given me a reason to not want to do this.
Yeah. Not want to keep growing.
Yeah, and it's just something I've always wanted to do. I didn't realize fabrication was the true angle until I started DI Fab.
Mm-hmm.
But I always wanted to have my own shop and do my own thing and, really provide what I expect from other shops and things like that and be that gold standard for everybody.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, especially when, like you said earlier, working for yourself, sometimes, that's just what you got to do.
Yeah. And I mean, it's, I really wouldn't have it any other way. I really do. I thoroughly enjoy this. My wife gets annoyed sometimes because I'm sure as other guys, other people in the community can understand, when you kind of eat, sleep, and live it, it gets, it kind of takes over your life.
Yeah.
And I have no issues with that. So
that is good to hear. So, are there any products that are kind of in the works that you're hoping to release in 2024? I know you talking about acquiring other cars and working on some other parts. Is there anything that's maybe further along?
Right now, my biggest plan for 2024, and it seems more like a small goal, but for me, it's a little bit of a bigger goal, only because I want to produce something really, really good for Evo 10 guys. And it's going to be a catch can for an Evo 10. I noticed in the community that some of these companies, they only make them for a few years and then they kind of die out. I've noticed other ones that are just at a price point that makes it really, really hard to justify spending that kind of money on such a simple device. Other ones tend to have issues with filling up too fast. The big thing for me is going to be going through, and that's my big 2024 goal, is to get a catch can release to the Evo 10 guys that can really pick up some slack where they're kind of feeling a little bit of pain in that department. Something a little more customizable, to suit needs where needs need to be met and things like that.
It's you don't see a lot in the marketplace, and when you do, it's kind of those like eBay ones.
Yeah, I mean there are some out there that are, very good, very quality. I've worked with the MAP ones. Quality wise, those cans are great. They have a few small shortcomings, and I think that there are some improvements that can be made to the overall design and concept of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what I'm going to be focusing on, is something that really meets a decent price point, that meets the demands of as many Evo 10 consumers as possible.
Okay.
Some guys don't need full 10AN lines. So why work with the big lines when you really don't have to? That they don't bend as well and
take up a lot of engine-based spots.
Yeah, they do. So that's going to be my big goal for 2024, is to put something together really, really, really good for the Evo 10 community in the catch can department.
Awesome. Look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting started on it. So probably start seeing information about it maybe the beginning to middle of Q2 of this upcoming year.
Okay. Good deal. So, Darrin, what is it about DI Fabrication that sets it apart from the other, so it seems like there's so many fabrication companies in our community and really in the automotive community, but the ones in the Mitsubishi community really, take a lot of pride in their products and you see them a lot more. So what is it about DI Fabrication that sets it apart from the other fabrication companies?
I've worked, I've met a lot of the fabricators in the community, and, I have nothing but great things to say about them. The one thing that I think sets me apart from them is, I would say, my experience in logistics and my customer service. I worked in logistics for a really long time, shipping, receiving, all different procurement, all different aspects of business logistics. I keep my turnaround times pretty low. I don't keep, I work out of a 3-car garage out of my home. I don't keep, big giant, shelving racks full of parts. So when you see things getting turned around really, really quick, it's because I'm getting them in here just in time to meet the demand of my customers.
Oh, wow.
So, it takes some planning with my my supply chain and things like that. And I've really set good standards for them to meet. And when I have an issue in that, I change it.
Good deal.
I've gone through several different, suppliers of different things and stuff like that. You won't notice it on the consumer end because I'm buying the same things, but I'm just buying them from different people that are more willing to meet my demand, to meet my demands, for lack of a better term. In the customer service, if something's out of my standard 1-week lead time, I try to do my best to send customers emails, text messages, anything I can do to tell you, hey, look, this is going to be out. It'll take me, it won't ship for another week or something to that effect, so that they know that they're not just sitting there in idle land, not knowing when their stuff is going to come or when it's going to ship, something like that. So, I put off a lot of time for myself to make those communications for customers, because, as a consumer myself, that's what I want to see from companies. That's what makes me feel valued as a customer and things like that. So I try to produce that for my customers as well.
Right.
And being who I want to be, because I've dealt with all the same things that all these other customers have dealt with.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than, hitting that checkout button online or pay now or whatever, and then don't hear anything for 3 days, and then 3 days turns into 4 days, 4 days turns into 5 days, and you think, oh shit, did I just waste my money?
But to be very fair, Amazon has really ruined consumers in that sense. Amazon I've noticed that when people don't get a shipping confirmation, and if you go on my website, you'll see everything has a standard lead time of at least 1 week. Because I'm making it. I'm physically taking sheet metal and making your bracket. Right. And things like that. So, where you're getting more of a handcrafted part than you are just a generic off-the-shelf part from Amazon. Yeah. And, and one thing I would love I'd love customers, potential customers, anybody to take away from that, this question is, don't let speed discourage you, because the quality will blow you away.
Yeah. Now, I like when the vendor, whoever you're buying from, just gives you that email like, hey, got your order, be about a week turnaround time. That's when you're like, oh man, thank God.
I'll even as a consumer myself, if I was going to do a turbo manifold on my car tomorrow, I would be going to buy it from someone. It's not something I have the capacity to make at this current moment. Right. So I'd be going to buy it from someone. I don't care if it takes 6 months to get. All I want to know is that it's going to take 6 months to get. Right. I don't care that it does, but not knowing until one random day, that really is a disservice to any customer, is leaving them kind of in the dark on, when they're going to get things or when things are going to ship, or, even if that's not 100%, you say, hey, look, it's going to take 6 months, give or take a little bit of time. You're not going to hear from me until month 8. Right. I'm going to give you some of that extra time because, I know things come up, and things like that. So, I want to just give to the people what I would want from a company I was buying from.
Yeah. But there's nothing worse than, like you said, wait until that month 8 and then find out your order got, slid through the cracks and now they're just getting started.
Yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong, that's happened, but in the car world, whether you're on the racing side, you're on the street car side, in my opinion, none of this stuff is life or death.
Right. For sure.
And I think that if you're on the race car side, you should have a little bit more planning into how things are going to work out for you.
Mm-hmm.
You should be planning for shootout today.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure. You should be planning next year's off season right now.
100%. Yeah. I think sometimes that doesn't happen, and then that gets put on the vendor to fix.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right.
Issue. So, and that's something I've learned over the years. It's not something that luckily has not happened to me yet. But I have seen it over the years. I've heard about it over the years. That's just a really hard thing to tell your customers is, hey, you screwed up. That's a really hard thing to say to your customer because I don't want to be mean.
Right.
But sometimes that is the case. For as unfortunate as it is.
Mm-hmm. I've certainly been the guy, in the shootout scramble, a couple weeks before, been like, oh my God, I forgot to order this. And, that's the worst when you have to reach out to the shop and go, could you overnight this?
Yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it happens. When you're looking at core components, turbo manifolds, blocks, cylinder heads, everything that I'll sit here and go out on a whim and say everything that has at least a 30-day lead time, you should not be forgetting, and that should not be part of your shootout shuffle. Right,
for sure.
So, yeah, so it's like, don't get me wrong, I'm very realistic about it. But at the same time, it's just it goes back to just being who I would want to buy from. Yeah, if you want to buy from me, then how can I expect anybody else to?
Yeah. I get that 100%. So, Darrin, what is your background in Mitsubishi cars?
Interesting. I've always wanted them. Before the show, you and I were talking about, as a kid, I was obsessed with them. I just couldn't afford them. Mm-hmm. So when I got about 6 or 7 years ago, I bought my current car. And I've been blessed to meet some of the coolest people in the community that have really taught me, a ton. On top of having the experience that I had, has just kind of really rounded me out really well. My experience lies pretty much in the last 6 to 7 years. In saying that, my quest for knowledge, my quest to ask questions, I'm sure that there are people out there that are just annoyed as hell to hear from me sometimes about, when it comes to asking questions, but at the same time, those very same people, have really, lended a hand to who I am today. So, so I would say my experience is pretty short comparatively.
Okay. It's the quality, not the quantity, though.
Yeah, and that's really what it boils down to. Yeah, don't get me wrong, I don't have Dave Berkshire experience. I haven't been doing this not on Mitsubishis for 30 years. Right. But I've been around cars, motorcycles. I built my first motor in 2005. So I mean, I've been doing this for almost 20 years. I've learned some of the old school techniques, some of the new school techniques, and things like that. So it's definitely as if I don't come from any experience, but I would say that the majority of my Mitsubishi experience has been over the last 6 or 7 years. And to be honest with you, pound for pound, there's not a lot of cars out there that I would rather do this on. So, that, in my opinion, that should say a lot about the platform overall.
Yeah, for sure. So, Darrin, why don't you let us in on your shop car? What's the deal with the shop car?
So my shop car is an Evo 9. I have built pretty much everything on the car. The motor is mine, as in I built the motor, I built the cylinder head. It's a Bushwhacker transmission and a Shep transfer case. It's on a Frankenstein, I guess, for lack of a better term, 25G.
Oh, you can't use that for turbos. That was the actual brand.
Oh, that was an actual brand?
Yeah, by the Graveyard Motorsports guys.
Oh, fascinating. I didn't know that. You learn something new all the time.
Yep.
We'll call it.
It's a long story.
We'll call it a loosely thrown together 25G.
There you go.
It was just. I had it done I had a lot of the work done, the machining work done by Turbo Labs of America. And then I put the rest of it together with, as far as the rebuild kit and all that. And I would say the turbo, it outperforms what a standard 25G right out of the box could ever do.
Oh, killer.
So I put it on Dr. Boost, tuned the car on the stock ECU a couple years ago. And on his dyno, the car made 687, 560.
Wow.
So, which, after talking around a bit is pretty impressive for a 25G on just ethanol.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
So, it's an 85 car. I've done everything myself but the transmission and the transfer case.
Okay. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild for what it is. Now I'm at the point where I want to go to a Zona. So, that has been influenced upon me.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as, the way that it sits today, it's for what it is and what it looks like, it performs very, very well.
Good deal. I love it. I love the, bolt-on kind of hybrid, loosely, the kind of stuff that, really made Force Performance popular by taking the bolt-on and, putting bigger wheels on it and stuff like that. I just love that kind of stuff.
Well, when I originally got the car, it was a 25G compressor cover and wheel, but it was on the stock turbine.
Oh, wow.
So it didn't last very long. I'll just leave it at that. It was just too much weight on the compressor side, and it would burn out bearing. It just burned out its bearings. So when I dug into it and I realized, oh man, what did the previous owner of this car do to this? Like, it took me a while to figure it out. And then, so I jumped online and I just started looking at different, turbo parts that were available for the MHI housings. And I put together a combo of compressor wheels and, machine work that Turbo Labs did wasn't bad, and things like that. So, I mean, the car performs, once I put that turbo in, it was like a night and day difference because I was getting the outflow that I needed to make more power. So it was just kind of a weird, not thrown together in a bad way, but I was just like, I'm going to pick this part and this part and this part, and we're going to run with it and see what it does.
Yeah.
And it turned out more than I could ask for. So their estimations from Turbo Labs was about 600 to the wheels on ethanol, and I've been able to, slam that out of the park.
I love that. That's just that's the kind of stuff I just revs me up. Love that.
Yeah. It's the turbo is probably the most interesting thing, just because you just don't see a lot of guys running 25Gs or,
for sure.
Anything like that. I don't blame them, and I'm not going to sit here and say that it's an amazing turbo because I don't think that's the case. I'll say that an FP Black, which is super comparatively sized, is a substantially better turbo. It's just I haven't really wanted to stick the money into that aspect of it because everything has worked so great. Even now it works great, and I'm a little up in the air on going to Arizona, but I'm going to do it anyways because, I'm just kind of at that level where I want more, and to get the more that I want, that's the route I have to go.
Yeah.
You know, I like, you know, cars wise, I like things that are very unique, which is becoming a harder and harder thing to do nowadays because everybody's on, you know, I just saw a Humvee that was converted into a 6x6 with a Hellcat motor in it that was slammed on the ground. Never seen that before. But to me, that tickles my car fancy just because it's just so out of this world unique. You know, so when you look at my car and things like that, you know, I like the 25G solely because of its uniqueness and that not a lot of people run them. I don't blame them. I'm not going to convince anybody to do it, but it's just, to me, it's a very unique factor.
Absolutely. Plus, as a veteran, you know how much a piece of shit the Humvee is, so the fact that anybody could do something cool with it is pretty cool.
I mean, to be blunt, it did not look very much like a Humvee anymore. But the
Humvee parts left.
The work on the outside, looking in, looked pretty good, and you know, it was just wild.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a concept to me.
So, Darrin, you talked about it already, but I want to circle back. Let's talk about DI Fabrication's goals for 2024.
The big one is Evo 10. You know, I get at least one person every week that's asking me about Evo 10. And I tell them all the same thing. It's coming. I'm working on it. You know, one big thing to take away is, like I said, you know, I work out of a 3-car garage, about 560 square feet. So, you know, so sometimes some of those, you know, logistics are a little bit more challenging to get over just because of the space that I have. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm hoping in 2024 that space situation changes, you know, along with some of my other capabilities as well. So, you know, right now my big thing to get to are Evo 10 guys. And then, you know, the future may hold Toyota and, you know, as another platform that I may consider. You know, it was something I've been talking about, but 2024 is the year of the Evo 10 for me. So that is 100% my focus and 100% my goal.
Good deal. Love to hear that. So, Darrin, what events can we come out and see you and talk to you about these cool parts you make in 2024?
So Shootout has been on my list. I haven't been since, I think, 2017. No, 2018. So Shootout is 100% on my list this year. You know, I'm probably not going to have a booth or anything like that, but, you know, I'll definitely be out there. I noticed that there was a gentleman who was offering welding services at the track for Shootout and things like that. That may be something you could find me over helping him with or something of that nature to, you know, maybe help him on his turnaround time. Still have to reach out to him and talk to him. And
especially now his race car's done. So I don't know if he has as much time doing that stuff as he used to.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, it's something I've talked about throwing, you know, there's a lot of things that I can throw in the truck and, you know, and head out to Ohio for, and, you know, I've looked at generators and things like that, you know, to, you know, but Shootout is the big one for me. You'll definitely see me at PRI for sure.
Absolutely.
You know, I would like to try to make World Cup, you know, not a super Mitsubishi intensive race. You know, and not just that, but World Cup and SEMA seem to be at the same time. So
absolutely. I think they do that on purpose.
I think they do that on purpose as well. You know, something that I was talking to some of the vendors at PRI about. So, you know, some of the vendors at PRI wanted me to come, you know, to do the whole SEMA/World Cup final week. You know, and that may be a reality for me this upcoming year as well.
Okay. I love, you know, like you said, there's not a lot of Mitsubishis at World Cup. I wish that there were, but just something about how many people show up to that event. It's just, after I went the first year, I was like, okay, I'll never miss this.
Yeah, and every person I've talked to has had the same exact response as you just did. So it really entices me to go, okay, well, if it's this good, then I just kind of gotta go. So, and I mean, where else do you see some of the fastest cars in the country? Out here, you don't see them.
Right.
Here, they live out here, they test and tune out here, they do a lot of stuff out here on this side of the country as well. But we got racetracks disappearing left and right. So it's one of those things where if you're out on the West Coast, it's a very good chance to see me at IFO this upcoming year as well. So I almost forgot about that one. But events wise, I stay kind of thin on events because I'll be honest, I'm not as much of a racer as I am a builder.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
So I stay a bit thin on events just because of that aspect. I wish I was good at racing, don't get me wrong.
It's just, I don't know. It's just something about it, like you said. Something about World Cup's just different. And going back to what you said, where else can you see the Street Outlaws guys, Cletus, plus, just average Joes out there?
Yeah, and I mean, if you've, one recommendation to you for events, it's not, Mitsubishi related. If you've never been to LS Fest,
oh yeah,
that's super, super interesting event to attend. And you go through and you walk through the pits and you see some of these guys that have stuck LSs into some of the most ridiculous things out there.
So you're talking about the LS Fest West?
They do one on the East Coast as well. I just don't remember where it's at on the East Coast.
It's about an hour from my house at Beach Bend Raceway Park.
Send it. Because, not Mitsubishi heavy, not even Mitsubishi period, but very fascinating. As an overall event. I attended one year out here, and it was more so as a spectator and just a regular Joe than DieFab itself. But it was super fascinating to see what they, what some of these people's capabilities and abilities are. It's just fascinating, and that's how I feel. That's how I feel about World Cup.
I went 2 years ago just to see the two LS 2G Eclipses together at the same time.
I didn't even know those existed, but that is the thing I'm going to do as soon as I'm off this podcast. Because I didn't even know those existed, and that is, I knew the Fox body, the Mustang 4G guys.
Yep.
I did not know that somebody stuffed an LS in a 2G. So that is beyond fascinating to me. So that will be getting a good search this evening.
Jake would probably sell his, honestly. I'd put you in touch with him.
I wish I had the space.
He's probably listening right now like, who the...
Hopefully in the coming years I will. Some of those weird unicorn-type builds and things like that.
Yeah.
Just you polish them up a bit, and hell, I wouldn't even race them. I would take them... and you set them at Kelford's booth, you set them at so-and-so's booth at, these different shows and things like that, because that's just impressive to stick an LS in a 2G.
And then people go, what kind of car is that?
Yeah, because it throws them for such a big loop.
Absolutely.
When I was I saw somebody stuff an LS in a Honda CRX. And I was like, this motor is bigger than the car. And it was like, so to see that on the inverse with, in a Mitsubishi is definitely fascinating to me is from that standpoint. And like I said, I like unique stuff. So that's going to be a rabbit hole for me.
Heck yeah. Well, Darrin, where can people find and follow you online and keep track of all these parts you're making?
The best place is Instagram. Everything about 9 out of 10 things that I share on my Instagram are on my Facebook page as well. Every once in a while, something skips Facebook just because sometimes I don't like to post properly. So Facebook and Instagram for sure. You can find me on my website at www.difabrication.com. All my contact information is there. Same thing with on Instagram and Facebook. If there's something you need that, you're having a little bit of a harder time finding from somebody else or, whatever, just feel free to let me know. I mean, if I can do it, I'll do it. If I can't, I have no problem saying that it's just not something I'm equipped to do.
Gotcha.
So I try to keep things as flexible for everyone as I can. And I think I head up that road pretty well.
Yeah, for sure.
So, tons of different variations of the same thing. That's easy for me.
So, Darrin, is there anybody that you want to give a thanks or a shout out to for, helping you get where you are, helping get the shop where it is today?
Yeah, absolutely. I owe a big credit to my wife, who's been awesome and supportive, and has put up with my obsession all these years. Alex at Bulletproof Racing, he was a big influence on me when I first started, and he was a big supporter, and he still is a big supporter. Rob at RK Titanium for, kind of getting me a little situated with titanium, and getting the motivation and the, just the small little things that, you can't look up or, so-and-so doesn't disclose to you in a video or something of that nature. So Rob's been a great resource for me as well. Yeah. And I'd like to thank Glenn and Ryan at Exigent Solutions. They've been if it wasn't for them, you and I would have never saw each other at PRI, and that connection might have been missed as well. So they've been great with letting me come help and do the things, and get some exposure to some some next level things, as I like to call it, and stuff like that. So this was not a one-person show by any means, to get where I am today. There's been a lot of people who've been awesome and, really helped me out and given me some good advice and things like that. So definitely not a one-person show here by any means.
Awesome, dude. Love to hear that. Seems like nobody, of all the episodes I've done, which is over 100 now, no one's ever said, I did this by myself.
I mean, to be honest, it's unless you've been doing this, you're 60-something years old and been doing it for 40 years, and you've kept up with everything over the course of those 40 years. It's impossible. Yeah. It really is, and even just the support from your loved ones is a big deal as well. So, there's no way anybody could do this all by themselves, and came to a hard realization of that fairly recently. So, it's just one of those things, but, all the support systems and, all the advice I've gotten from the various people have really done a lot. So, give credit where credit is due for all of them.
Hell yeah. All right, Darrin. Well, thank you so much for coming on here and telling your story. Thanks again for coming on as the rear-wheel drive sponsor. I look forward to really working with you, and like I said, this is the year for the rear-wheel drive class. Keep your eyes on this list because it's going to get crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. It's great. It's great you do what you do, and anytime you have any other sponsorships and things like that, feel free to let me know.
Absolutely, man.
I do just as much with these cars, and I enjoy them just as much as anybody else. So, keeping the community the way that it is, and and expanding the community, and the quality and all those other things, that I have just as much of a stake in that as anybody else. So, definitely let me know. I'm looking forward to working with you however I can in the future.
Absolutely. Well, I will definitely look forward to seeing you at the shootout.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm excited now that the dates are out. So
hopefully we can have as big a turnout as we had last year.
Hopefully bigger, and we just keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yep. All right, man. Well, I'll see you there.
Absolutely. It was great to be here. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to the MitsuTimes podcast. Check out our Instagram and Facebook for daily updates. Get added to our list by going to MitsuTimes.org and clicking Submit a Slip. Thank you to all of our sponsors.